In the year 1989, the then President of Kenya, Daniel Toroitich arap Moi, presided over the burning of 12 tons of ivory. 12 tons of ivory is approximately then would approximately cost between 1 million and $3 million. Now, this was done as a deterrent or the battle as a sign of a battle against poaching. This ivory was ivory that was actually confiscated from um, poachers over the years, and just as a sign or to show the stand of the country, then it was all burnt down to make sure that does not go back to the um, illegal trade of ivory. Now, just outside Nairobi National Museum is this sculpture here that represents that. It shows like a small flame, a flame on top there, and below it is just some icons here that show, um, try to show that the ivory being burnt or the fire that burnt the ivory there. It is a show just within outside before you just get into the museum, which is a strong indicator of why poaching is a very dangerous thing. Just to put it in perspective, 12 tons would mean the death of 2,000 plus elephants. Now, since then, after that, there's been a lot of the fight against the illegal trade of ivory by other presidents in the same way. The latest one being the former president, who in 2016 they banned 105, a whopping 105 tons of the same. So this statue just outside the museum is a strong indicator, and most people may not just see it, they just see it as a colorful item, a strong indicator of the ivory burning. The sculpture is very symbolic, and it just shows the fight against illegal ivory trade. Now, also outside the National Museum is a big sculpture of a dinosaur, which also is put there as a stark reminder of um, that species can actually disappear from the earth completely. So it's a stark reminder of extinction, so that everybody knows how to take care of the existing animals that exist. Now, inside the museum, there's other reminders of extinction, like Sudan. Sudan was the last of the white male rhinos, and that actually who died, and that indicated the end of white rhinos completely. This tour will just briefly look at the Nairobi National Museum and the items that are inside and the artifacts. So this is just the first part, and we'll follow this tour. It's a 360-degree tour of the National Museum with the key items that are there. This is the reception area, and the reception area as a reception section where you pay for the fees that are supposed to be paid, and these are the amounts that somebody pays. If you're a Kenyan citizen, you pay 600 Kenya shillings for adults, 300 Kenya shillings for a child. Residents and the rest of Africa, it's $15 for adult, $10 for child, and foreigners will pay $25 per adult and $15 per child. This is the actual entrance now. That is written the Hall of Kenya. This is the actual entrance, but just besides it is a small uh, notice that shows the notice that shows the ground floor galleries and what you expect to find there, the first floor galleries and what you expect to find there. So the ground floor consists of the Hall of Kenya, the Great Halls of Mammals, Cradle of Humankind, the Hominid Skulls, Birds of East Africa, CBK Numismatic Exhibition, Ford Hall. And then upstairs, that is the first floor, you'll find Historia ya Kenya, that is the history of Kenya. You'll also find the Cycles of Life, Aga Khan Hall, and Contemporary Art Gallery that you'll also find there. Now let's get into the first section, which is the Hall of Kenya, and this consists of, at the middle, a tower of gourds, or yeah, gourds, and these are quite a variety within the African and Kenyan society. Gourds have been quite sentimental in um, storing of items and even for cultural representations. For example, gourds like these ones that is at the middle here, some of them can be used to store libation, some can be used to store milk, and so forth and so on. And others would be used to actually carry items. If they are split into two, they form a calabash, which would actually be a plate. I don't see one that is split, but most of these would actually be used for storing items, liquid items especially, libations, milk, blood, and so forth, and so on. Within this part also we have items like this horn here, and this one, which is quite common in the coast region, is called the siwa. It's made up of ivory actually, and this was for the chiefs. Now these two are, if you click on the info buttons, they'll always show what item that is and what it does. Like this is a siwa, which is a large ceremonial side blown horn or bosom for East Africa, particularly on the coast of Kenya and Tanzania. These horns were owned by local chiefs and Arab descents and were used in the 17th and early 18th century in the coast. We may not go through everything for this one, but that will be covered on the actual live tour, which will be done by live streaming. If you step at the middle here, also we're able to see more items, or maybe more clearer items like this, the butterflies and where they're located within the country. These the birds here, which were covered on the other slide and on the previous slide. And then we can move closer now to the Hall of Mammals, which is this door. Have in mind that this is the Hall of Kenya. So we just move to this door here where we have the Hall of Mammals, which when we click, at the middle there is the mammals that show the different diversity of animals within the region, Kenya and East Africa in general. There's these sections here that there's convergence of animals, and there's another section where they diverge. Most of these animals are just found within the national parks around the region. They've been there for the longest time, but over time, because of human animal conflict, they've been confined into the parks. So we have elephants, zebras, giraffes, and an array of gazelles. If you move closer to this section, then it shows a little bit of smaller animals like cheetahs, anthill. This is the anthill. A lot of explanation of this is done in actually the live tour, so please ensure that you join our live tours when we offer them. I'll just post them here. There's also divergence of animals. As I said, there's convergence of there and there's divergence. That is well explained. Like for example, the hippopotamus and the whale. Whale kind of come from the same um, roots, but they kind of diverged at some point. We can move closer to this one, which has other animals, family animals like the hippos, um, and the skulls that are there. We have a gorilla on this other side, and some skulls that show these are elephant skulls. You see how big they were, the original elephants that evolved to become the smaller elephants. More like mammoth, kind of, but they were actual very huge elephants. Moving to this direction, this is a very important part of the museum, which shows actual human evolution. I know you've heard of the cradle of humankind, generally Africa, but East Africa is very crucial in that. So most of these findings are actual skulls of Homo erectus and other evolutionary kind of human nature aspects, all the way from how they used to live, like the paintings that you have seen there, to actual skulls that represent the human evolution. So this again is well explained in depth in the live tour. and feel free to join it. I'll leave a link at the bottom here, and you should be able to join the live tour when it's offered. We can move closer and get a look at this. So each skull is mapped to with a drawing of how, a scientific drawing of how they looked like back then and how they used to live. This door here shows, it's called the hominid skull room. Hominid. The hominid are way smaller. This, in terms of evolution, were way smaller. And let's just get into that room and see. Here we have special skulls and skeletons that show again the evolution um, aspect of evolution, or the reality of evolution. For example, you can see this skull. This is an old skull that was discovered, and it's well preserved for observation. And if we could read here the humanid room, it talks about how Africa is unrivaled in its contribution to the evolution and prehistoric research. Africa's most outstanding paleontological and archaeological findings world over. At the bottom there, it talks about Kenya takes pride in being the cradle of mankind. The fossils bones in the room are single most resonant parts of them. So these are skulls, or are some of the artifacts that really date back in the millions of years ago, and they are very important when it comes to showing the journey of evolution. Most of these things, again, as I've said, are well explained in the I think this one shows a better view now of this uh, skull of a human evolution bit of it. There's a room here that shows how the social life was like, and this one is more of so at the bottom here, these are actual sculptures, but at the background is a landscape drawing that shows, or that extends the horizon. So you can see, like here, the way they used to live as a community. Some of them here looks like they're slaughtering an animal that they have hunted, and then the children and the women, they're um, looking for herbs maybe. So this is just a representation of the social life of the um, early human, that is in the millions of years ago as evolution took place. So this is the first part, which I wanted us to cover and show how a live tour actually would work. We have the birds of East Africa. This door opens towards that, and this is a room full of um, stuffed animals, especially birds that are within the area. So again, a lot of explanation about this is done on the live tour. Feel free to join when it is offered. I'll drop the link there where you can put in, or you can key in waiting lists. Just look at the link that we have, and you'll be able to see if you can fill in and get more details about the same. So this room, for those who love birds, is full of, I think, hundreds and hundreds of them that show the birds and the namings of the birds that are within the region. This is the last part that I'll talk about for this first part, and this is what I mentioned: Sudan the rhino. Sudan was the last of the white male rhinos, and although the other two females, and now that exists, there's no way that now the continuity of that species can proceed. For whatever reason, they cannot they could not sire with Sudan because he was very old, and apparently the two were, or one of them is the mother, and the other one is a daughter, the two that are now existing in the world. So most likely, high chances, the extinction of white rhinos is happening now as we talk. Again, all this is because rhinos also do have um, ivory horns, and these are poached a lot. Actually, in most times, I think, I don't know whether Sudan was had the same procedure, but most times Rhino's ivory or horn will be cut off and stored somewhere just so that it can people cannot hunt it or poach it down, because if they see that it does not have the horn, they'll not need it anymore and they'll not kill it. So the poachers, and poaching is a very um, bad thing that has led to the extinction of many other animals, or that would lead to the extinction of so many animals. So apparently Sudan, the last of the white rhinos died, and this is a stuffing of him stored within the Nairobi National Park. Now, as I've said, I have left a link below of the website and a link for you to fill in a waiting list. Just key in your email address and we'll get back to you with a virtual free virtual tour of and explain more in detail of the various aspects that are found for conservation within the Nairobi National Museum. Also, feel free to ask the questions that you want in the comment section. I'll be ready to answer them and engage we as much as I can. So thank you very much, and I'll keep doing another version of this. I'll have the part 2 that now goes to the snake pack. This leads to the snake pack, um, and other items that we can also engage in. So thank you very much, and hopefully to see you in the next session.